Hey, what's up you guys? Bloody Jacob here to bring you another video. In this one we're going to be talking about my top 10 favorite characters of the CW's The 100. And I'm still kind of riding off the momentum the Season 3 premiere gave me, and many others seem pretty pleased with it too. I thought it was a pretty awesome start to the season. Only a couple little flaws here and there. But really, I'm really into the show again. It's really given me energy to look forward to doing reviews on it, even though I'm going to be starting work within the next week or two. Um, I still plan on reviewing it as I can. Might not always be the night of, but I'll talk more about that when I actually get a solid schedule down for all that once it starts. But this is a video I've been meaning to do for a while. I did one for The Walking Dead. I did one for The Vampire Diaries and the originals. And the one for The Walking Dead, I might sort of update at the end of Season 6 or something. But definitely wanted to get one out there for the 100 because it's one of the best shows out there right now, I think. Right up there with some of my other favorites like The Walking Dead, Vampire Diaries originals, Penny Dreadful, and Game of Thrones and The Strain and stuff like that. But before I get into the exact top 10, there were a few characters that I did want to mention. One that I almost wanted to include on the list, and the other two that people might be surprised are on the list. So I kind of wanted to explain that. As far as the two characters that aren't on the list that people might be surprised by, I didn't include Finn on the list. Obviously, okay, this video is going to contain spoilers before I get into it. It's obvious in the title, but some people still will get bitchy about it once I start hearing them. But, yeah. So, Finn, I know he's probably on a lot of people's top 10s, and, I didn't really have too big of an issue with the character. He was played well, and, he was sort of like the love interest for Clark early on. Sort of caught in a triangle with, her and Raven. Not for too long, though. It wasn't, like, shoved down our throats or anything, so that wasn't like, an issue for me. But, he kind of came off like a bland male lead type of character, It wasn't until the later part of when he was on the show that I really started developing, when he was gunning up, those grounders down looking for Clark, in Season 2 and stuff like that. A weird thing just popped up. Hold on a second. Sorry about that. Anyway, so I didn't find him overly interesting, but he was played well. And spoilers, yes, he died in Season 2. I think it was Episode 8. But, when Clark basically put him out of his... Not really put out of his misery, but killed him to save him from a more torturous death that the Grounders were going to give him. For slaughtering some of their own when he was looking for Clark again. So I thought that whole death was handled really well. All the acting in it was great and stuff like that. But, I just didn't find him overly interesting or compelling, so that's why he's not on the list. Abby, played by Paige Turco, she's Paige Turco does great in the role. She's well acted. I'm not saying that. And I know she's probably going to become a big factor later on and stuff like that. I imagine she'll get a pretty grand death at some point or something. Because I don't think she's going to survive the whole thing. But why she's not in my top 10, I just get annoyed by the way the character's written sometimes. Just how she would... take credit away from the things Clark and Bellamy and the others have done just because they're, kids and stuff like that. But when in reality, Clark and the rest of them actually have more experience than, the adults who have just gotten to the ground. And so when Abby is acting like that, it's pretty frustrating, and I don't know. I just feel like I don't know, it's hard to explain. She just annoys me and bugs me sometimes. But, she's played well, and maybe things will change forward with the writing, I don't know. Okay, and those are the two characters I don't really like too much that people might be surprised that weren't on the list, so that's my explanation for those. Sorry I wasn't too detailed about that, but I do want to get into the list itself. And one more thing before we do that, character I actually did want to include on the list but didn't just because she wasn't around for overly long was Anya, played by, might be mispronouncing her name, but it was Dichon Latchman or something like that. Who I was really excited to see on the show, because she played Surin on Being Human, which is probably still my favorite TV show of all time when it comes down to it. She was really good on the show. She awesome. She really rocked the role, I think. She was a perfect fit as a grounder. She really brought the brutality of being one of the leaders, at least of her section or whatever it was. I sort of like her and Clark's rivalry too, and how it actually developed into them having respect for one another. And it was a huge shame that just as they agreed, that Anya would leave to negotiate peace with the Grounders and the Sky People, she gets shot down by one of the Sky People. So that kind of sucked, but she did have some great scenes and great moments with Clark. Also, the little fight they had in which Clark actually bested her was really awesome, and their back and forth were really fun too, I thought. But if she was around for a while longer, I would have definitely put her on the list, no question. But I had to be fair to the other characters who have been around for a while longer, I think. But she could very well work her way in there at some point if I were doing another updated list again or something. We'll see. Once I see more of the show and things like that, we'll see how it all resonates. Because, we're still only, not even, more than an episode of season 30 in yet. We've basically only seen 2 seasons of it so far. Hopefully we get to see a lot more, at least it gets a full run. But, my number 10 will be Lincoln. Of course, he's the love interest for Octavia. He's a grounder. He's sort of like becoming more of the Sky People, part of the Arcadia group, they're now called. But, he was a character we met, kind of early on in season 1, he just came from a really different perspective. And, it was good to see. It was interesting to see how when he actually chose to spoke. And, he has such a, high willpower. And, when you see him try to work through that, I forget what those people are called, the more feral type of grounders that some of them encountered when they were, trying to get to, why am I suddenly forgetting things? It's right over there. Weather. I feel really bad that I forgot that. But cut me some slack, guys. Been dealing with a lot lately, actually. But anyway, it was good to see him, fight through that process, within himself as he's being, trying to be taken under control by Mount Weather, and it was good to see him kill the main son from that end of season 2. He's really well acted by Ricky Whittle, too. I think he does a good job. And, he's just really is one of the key members to our surviving group right now, I think. So yeah, number 10 is Lincoln. He's just a badass, too, really. It was cool to see him sparring with Bellamy and getting Bellamy to learn more, specific ways of fighting and things like that. Anyway, number 9 is Murphy. And Murphy, he definitely came off like an antagonist type of character early on, sort of being the arrogant, jerk in the group and stuff like that, even more so than Bellamy was early on in a way. Even less level-headed than Bellamy was and things like that. But, Bellamy had reasons for, certain things, but, we're going to go into that a little bit later, maybe. But, of course, he was actually exiled from their group when they first landed on the ground eventually, because he was hunting that little girl who ended up, taking her own life and jumping off that cliff. If you guys remember that all the way back in season 1, I think it was episode 4. But I think we've just gotten to see more layers to the character, when he met that girl when he was traveling with Thelonious, and all the scenes with Thelonious have been really interesting, I think. And, we see that there is some good in him. He actually was trying to redeem himself when he came back to the group eventually. Whether that was a good thing for all of them or not. But, also when he was, taken captive by the Grounders and things like that, too. Tortured for days and stuff. And there's that one hair sticking up. And that's kind of bothersome. Anyway, I'm going to try not to get it in the light as much so maybe you can't see it as well. But you still can. Just deal with it. Anyway, but yeah, really well-developed character, I think. And he has a pretty likable personality, even though he kind of comes off like an ass. At this point, you can kind of understand him, I think. So number 9 is Murphy. Number 8 is going to be Octavia Blake, who is the sister to Bellamy. And she's had one of the more, in-depth character transformations on the show, too. coming off like your generic like hot, girl on the show, or just there for the looks and things like that. But then you find out more about her. You find out how isolated she had to be from other people on the Ark, because they weren't allowed to, have so many children, for the sake of, food and things like that. So she was hidden away a lot of the time, and, it was a really beautiful scene when, Bellamy would finally take her out and things like that. So a big reason why she is on the list too is also a relationship with Bellamy. They disagree on a lot of stuff, but they do love each other and they're incredibly loyal to one another. She's really the whole reason Bellamy, came to the ground in the first place, was to, protect her, because he's technically not a kid. He's probably in his 20s somewhere, but he just wanted to look out for his sister, so he worked his way up, worked his way into the guard and, shot Felonius, and that's when it all started and things like that to get him on the ship. But Octavia herself, she eventually developed into a really strong female character. She's really more of a grounder now at this point than, one of the people from Arcadia. And, she's really tough. She has a really strong willpower, too, as you can see when she was fighting that grounder in Season 2. She got her ass kicked, but she kept on getting up and up. She has a huge heart. And, she still cares about the people, closest to her from the group and stuff like that, too, But, she's just finally found a place where she can fit in a little bit more, or at least that's what it looks like right now, but we'll see. So, yeah, number 8 is Octavia. I might actually end up putting her higher at some point, too, but we'll see. Number 7 is going to be Jasper. And he's the character that has actually, changed a lot, too. The 100 does a great job. They've given a really good amount of development to all the characters, and whether they're really the main characters like Clark and Bellamy and things like that, or whether they're more of the supporting type, sort of like, Jasper and Murphy and things like that, or Lincoln. But Jasper, he was the comic relief for a lot of the time early on. But then we see, as Bellamy pushed him into helping him with certain situations and things like that, Jasper actually turned out to be a pretty capable member of their group. And, he ends up being a really good shot, actually, when he can actually focus and when he's not high or doing whatever else, And his friendship with Monty early on is pretty entertaining, too. But, as he ends up getting more and more assimilated with the group, he gets, a little bit more serious about their survival and things like that. And, he becomes one of the key members. And in Mount Weather, he meets Maya. And, he get kind of as a thing with her. And then when almost everyone in Mount Weather is killed, he's really just turned into a dark place going into Season 3. He still carries a lot of that with him. He's lashing out at people. I'm not sure what's going to bring him back, but we'll see what happens at some point. Maybe Monty will die or something, I don't know. But, and, I like Monty too, but he just hasn't been developed quite as well as the others. But, he's, that kind of contradicts my last point a minute or two ago, but, he's still a fun character. And Jasper himself, you can actually seriously care about him, and you can also laugh when he's actually in a good mood and things like that. So number 7 is Jasper. Number 6, I could easily put her on number 5 as well. Number 6 and number 5 could rotate for me. But I'll talk about this person first, and that is Lexa, played by Alicia Debnam-Carey, who's also on Fear the Walking Dead right now. I hope to see more from her character on that show, but that's up to the writers. But she is a really good actress, and she's been great on the 100 so far. She, of course, is one of the commanders of the Grounders, or I think the main commander, but we're finding out there's, different positions and stuff like that. We're finding out more about their culture and how their system works. Of course she has that romance with Clark too, the whole kiss in Season 2 and things like that, which I never had an issue with. I think as long as it makes sense in the story, it's fine. I know she's going to be in Season 3, and I think she's actually going to be one that kind of helps Clark get out of her current predicament, but we'll see. She definitely kicks a lot of ass. She's really, really strong. I love the scene where in Season 2, where she had to deal with the Grounder who betrayed her and tried to set Clark and the rest of them up to make it look like they were trying to poison her drink, and how she had to put him down, basically stab him with her sword. She uses a sword, by the way, which is awesome. The whole, her whole way of thinking that, love is weakness and things like that. It's just a completely different perspective than some of the rest of our characters. Again, she's a unique character in that, similar to Lincoln, she comes from a very different perspective, or at least a very different start. But, she does care. She absolutely cares a lot about Clark and things like that, but she also tries to do things for the good of her people as well. She is trying to be a good leader. We'll see where she goes long term. I hope she's around for a while. I'd like to think she's going to at least make it out of season 3 and maybe longer, into season 4 and so on, but we'll see where that goes. But yeah, I think she's just going to become more and more awesome as it goes on. She's a badass. She's well acted by Alicia. Just a lot I can say about her. So yeah, number 6 is Lexa. And number 5 is Thelonious. But like I said, I could easily switch these two around. But, basically they're in the same spot. Thelonious, played by Isaiah Washington, who really impressed me on the show acting-wise. He's sort of like our Morgan Freeman, Samuel L. Jackson type of character. That's kind of who he reminded me of earlier on, but I didn't expect that good of an adult actor, in the role when I first seen him, and he really does a great job. Of course, he was the original Chancellor of the Ark and things like that, and of course he ends up losing his son, Wells, pretty early on into season 1, and I like his whole decision to actually put everyone on the Ark before himself and send him down there when he was going to be the one that would be left. That was a huge sacrifice, but he did end up making it to Earth, which some people have said was the wrong decision story-wise, but I think it's been okay. The character hasn't been as interesting since he's gotten down to Earth, ironically. His scenes with Kane when they were captured by the Grounders and when he first went Lexa were good, but his whole journey to find the City of Light and things like that in season 2 and this season so far, it's a little bit sketchy. It's not one of the best parts of the show right now. But I still think he's a really well-developed character, his leadership ideas, how they go against Abby and stuff like that, how they contrast, how they, are actually still similar. I do like him. I do find him to be interesting. Like I mentioned earlier with Murphy, I like their connection. Yeah, so number 5 is Thelonious, but basically I'd put Lexa at number 5. We'll switch that around. But still, Thelonious is a great character. And definitely one of the staples of the show. I'm interested to see what really changed his mind so much about this AI and where it's actually going to go this season. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to see what they're going to do, even if I'm not too into it right now. All right, number 4 is going to be Raven, played by Lindsay Morgan, and she's just such a entertaining badass. In a different regard than Lexa, really. But Raven can sort of kick ass on her own too. She has a lot of pride. Right now she's not really wanting to accept other people's help, with her injury and things like that. And she also had a close relationship with Finn, which was kind of wrong of Finn to hook up with Clark, just a few days into landing on the ground and things like that. But, she's proven herself to be a really capable engineer, and, why can't I talk tonight? So she's been really key to certain parts of the story, too. It was really exciting when she did finally get to the ground with the rest of them. And, just her, getting the bomb onto the bridge in season 2, which is actually the little picture I used of her in the thumbnail, if you can see it. But, so I really, really like her character. I find her to be, very likable. I do like her friendship with Abby, even if Abby bugs me sometimes. I like how Raven doesn't really put up with any of her hypocritical bullshit, so I like that. And I like how she's actually sort of forgiven Clark for everything that's happening with Finn and stuff like that, how they're actually friends, how they actually sort of trust one another, for the most part anyway. So number 4 is going to be Raven. And, I wish I could talk more about these characters, but, I don't want to make it too long of a video either. But number 4 is Raven. Number 3 is going to be Kane, Marcus Kane, played by Henry Ian Cusick. He's just one of the best actors on the show, legitimately, no question. He's a character that's really developed a lot, too, He, at first in the series, came off like a, power-hungry, backstabber, arrogant, sort of coward when it comes down to it if he doesn't have all these people around him. But then we find out more about him. We see his mother, and when he loses her, it sort of changes things about him. And we find out that he actually has a lot of logic behind his thinking. And he's really kind of mellowed, with his attitude towards certain people. And I really like him as opposed to Abby when it comes to Clark because, Kane can actually see how capable Clark actually is and the rest of the kids as well. or the rest of the younger characters anyway. So he actually acknowledges that Clark may be the right one to lead them, in certain situations and things like that. He can believe in what they've done because he's not that ignorant to just ignore it. But he's a great fighter too. He's a great shot. I like his back and forth with Thelonious back when we used to see that. And I do think he's gonna have a romance with Abby later on. I think that would make sense. It would fit because they both kind of lean on each other. And he's one of the leaders now, and I think that really works for his role. So yeah, number 3 is gonna be Marcus Kane. I can't really see the show without him. Number 2 is Bellamy Blake, played by Bob Morley. He's my favorite male character on the show. And second to only Clark, I do think he is the most well-developed character on the show as of right now. Again, he was one of them that came off like, sort of power-hungry, just rebellious and sort of an asshole. But really, we find out more of his backstory with his mother and, taking care of his sister. And you just really see how all these things and what's happening on the ground have weighed on him. And he was really a huge reason why the 100 survived on the ground in the first place, or at least most of them, some of them. But he's a great leader. He is a good fighter, and he's going to become even better once he learns more from Lincoln and things like that. And he's just a lot of the spirit. He's the spirit of the remaining characters, I think. And he's really one of the strongest and most capable people they have, I think. Bellamy, Bob Moore really just plays him so well too. What really well acted. You won't know he has an accent if you didn't hear him in interviews and things like that. I do hope him and Clark have a thing eventually. I know it happens in the books. And I'm not one of those people that, is going to beg for it 24/7, but I do think they'd make sense as a long-term, sort of relationship. But we'll see what they do with it. Either way, they're both great characters, and I like their friendship. I like their connection and respect for each other. All right, so number 2 is Bellamy. And my number 1, take a wild guess. Who is it going to be? Yes, anyway. It's definitely going to be Clark Griffin, played by Liza Taylor. Just an amazing female lead, an amazing lead in general. One of my favorite female characters I've seen in a TV show ever. Liza Taylor just does such a great job. You write down from just something as simple as her accent to just the emotion she's able to show and the damage and how everything's weighed and changed Clark as it's went along. And just the spirit and how capable she's become since she first landed on the ground. It's just been an incredible thing to watch, I think. And, seeing how Finn's death affected her as well as her decision, on Mount Weather at the end of season 2, when she had to basically kill some in order to save, the money she actually cared about. Seeing her on the run right now, captured by Zach McGowan, but, we'll see where that goes. She is actually kind of physically capable at this point, not completely, but, she's a great thinker when it comes to, political decisions as well as, battle and things like that, I think. And, I really can't ask for any actress better in the role, too. Liza Taylor's just such a great talent, like I was saying. She's awesome in person. I mean, I never met her, but, seeing her in the interviews and stuff and all the little gifs, she's a really entertaining character. I mean, person, I should say. But, of course, she's the pillar of the show, and I could never see it without her. I think she's just such an amazing lead. From losing her father in season 1, seeing the flashbacks of that, which are really good, seeing her become more and more capable of leading people and how she gained Kane's respect. And, just all, like I said, all the decisions she's had to make that had just completely weighed her down, but she's going to make a comeback. She's still one of the strongest people on the show, and I can't wait to see what happens with her long term. So, yeah. Redhead or blonde, she's awesome. Let me know who you guys like. Let me know who are your, top 10 characters, even your top 5 or something, and why. I just love all the characters on the show, all really well developed, and it's one of my favorites out there right now, no question about it. Hope you guys enjoyed this. I know I didn't give too many details with all of them, but I hope you guys liked it anyway. And, so follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Movie Pilot, and look for manspoiled.com. I'll be doing a review of Merlin Season 1 soon. I'm not sure if that'll be tomorrow, but that's one of my upcoming videos, and I also plan on reviewing Lucifer, which is premiering tomorrow night. You can expect that tomorrow night, and Merlin Season 1 review sometime within the next couple days. We'll see. But yeah, catch you guys next time, and peace.